video game research will recognize this. It's very similar to Professor Bartle's assessment of what MMO players like. We actually looked at the research he did and some of the stuff he's done and actually sort of reframed it a bit in a Bioware context. So one way to think about it, we call these the 4 activity pillars. And there's a 5th one I'll talk about in a moment or two. But each quadrant has different type of things they value. So the killers like action and combat. Achievers like progression of the characters, customization. Socializers, story and interaction. And exploration, explorers, people like exploring things. On top of all of this is really a layer of social. So it's like, all these things can be also done in a social way. And that's kind of the way the world is today. And we're really focusing on that in all our future games. You've probably seen us doing that a lot lately, but it becomes a very, very important part of what we do. So move over to Ray. We'll start talking about each of these individually and get into a little more detail.
Yeah, so we'll start off with exploration. And we're just going to go through a timeline of Bioware and kind of show you how we developed against these pillars, the 5 pillars Greg just walked us through in a variety of games over the last couple of decades. So we start off with Baldur's Gate. This is kind of a zoomed out view. We're really proud at the time in the mid-90s that we were launching this game. It was all 2D graphics, had 10,000 screens of 640 by 480 graphics resolution. So it's just showing I don't know how many we have on the screen here, but it was a lot. And it was a big game. It was an awesome game. There was hundreds of hours of exploration, and it was a lot of fun. It kind of drew on our roots, those games that Greg talked about in the first few slides, and we're really proud of it. Baldur's Gate 2, we thought, man, we got this nailed. We got sprite backgrounds. We got 3D characters now, 800 by 600 resolution. It was awesome. It was fantastic.
It's huge. I mean, I can't believe we'd ever get past that.
But the emotional engagement we created through those games was powerful. It was compelling. And we knew we were onto something with story and characters. So we built on that foundation. We built on the exploration and continued to develop out these lush, rich worlds. We took it to full 3D with Neverwinter Nights. We also had a user content creation tool set that allowed thousands of different modules to be created and millions of hours to be played in the Neverwinter Nights campaigns. So it was very, very exciting. This is one of them. It's user content, I believe. And then we had Dungeon Master, who could actually jump in and take control of the action and surprise and delight the fans. So it was basically 5 different ways you could play that game. There was single player, multiplayer, or like 4 pillars we always talked about. With the Dungeon Master, the user-generated content, was phenomenal. Jade Empire, we built our first brand new IP from scratch. I guess Shattered Steel was a new IP in a way as well. But Jade Empire was building on Asian mythology and creating this fantastic new empire that was very exciting to explore. Beautiful and rich and lush. Dragon Age Origins, we did that in the fantasy space and created a brand new fantasy universe that we're still extending today. It's a franchise we're very proud of. And another screen from Dragon Age Origins. I'm pleased, we haven't announced any details on the next product in the Dragon Age franchise, but I can say that we're looking at the best-of-breed features from Dragon Age Origins, including the exploration and these wonderful worlds, and a lot of the features we innovated on in Dragon Age 2. We're gonna marry those together. So that's our philosophy going forward. So we'll have more news on that later. Now we'll talk a bit about story and character, Joe, how that's evolved over time.
So one of the funniest things about story and character is we go back in time to, this is actually not even just Baldur's Gate, it's Baldur's Gate 2. You can see the characters there, little tiny 16 pixel, 32 pixel characters. But back then we actually got a lot of life out of them. I mean, each of them had a line, they'd sort of say one voiceover line, and then you have to read the rest of the dialogue. The point of reference that's interesting is those 16 pixels are literally like the glint in Commander Shepard's eye now. Like that's the same type of texture we use, same size. We went to Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. This is the first game that we actually had all the NPC dialogue was voiceover. So everything everyone said to you, they were spoken. That was actually a pretty big deal. It was one of the first in the business. Jade Empire, this was actually, I remember, we said, hey, why don't we just start, they're talking, why aren't they acting? Why aren't they actually emoting? And we actually went back and added literally facial expressions to the game. So it was the first one we actually had, some basic acting. Move forward to things like Dragon Age. I mean, incredibly well realized characters, very, very realistic, and actually fully emoting and acting. And of course, when you start talking about incredible characters, especially you consider the aliens in Mass Effect 2. And one thing we found over the years is actually some of the aliens are the easiest to make because you don't have a preconceived notion about how they should look and how they should act. As humans, we're kind of wired to look at people's faces and judge them, but not these guys. But they did an amazing job acting. And of course, Mass Effect 3. Every single game, you've probably seen in this little segment is we kind of continually evolve. We never stand still. We always try and improve, improve, improve. So really, the fidelity, the quality acting, the subtlety you can actually get from a digital actor is really, really incredible. Hey, and I think this is something from Mass Effect 3.
I think so.
Shepard warned us they were coming. But we didn't listen. fate of our world. Of every world. Rests in his hands.
We need a plan to stop them.
We fight or we die. That's the plan.
That's awesome. So we're really proud of the work the team has put into all of our games. And one thing I wanted to add, the comment Greg added about story, is just how incredibly collaborative that process is. You know, the writers we have are amazing. They take non-linear storytelling to a new level. They marry that with amazing environments and animation and characterization and just pull it all together. And it's very much a team effort. And we have amazing teams that allows us to create these great stories. So, screen for Mass Effect 3, it's going to be, I think, a fitting into the trilogy and also a beginning to the new galactic war. So, I think you're going to love it. Now, we mentioned we have something special for all of you. This is the first of 3 things we have for you. There's a card that you're going to pick up on the exit, and it's going to have a code on it that allows you to get a code for an avatar from for a Normandy avatar on Xbox Live. So that's a little gift, little thank you we have for all of you for joining us here today for Mass Effect 3.
Don't say we never gave you anything. So we got that covered.
There's more coming too,
yeah,
but this is cool.
More.
It's very cool. So I'm going to talk a bit about action, combat, and conflict, and show how it all fits together. So from one of our early games, Shattered Steel, we had 8-player versus 8-player PvP action, crazy mech bots kind of fighting each other. It was very advanced for its time in the early 90s.
Very high tech, obviously.
Yeah, it looks great too. It was fun. It was a really fun game. And we built on that with MDK2. That was sort of an extension of the technology and the things we learned about action combat from the first game. And we had 3 characters that had all of very different styles of gameplay as well. We had Max, the dog. We had Kurt. We had Dr. Fluke Hawkins. And they all have very different styles. And it was an action game. We also built on the...
That's not me. My breathing's okay.
The tactical combat in Baldur's Gate was another foundation piece, and we built on that in Neverwinter Nights, and that's something that I think you can see how these streams flow together from action, some of our early action games, and some of the tactical aspects of combat and conflict in Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights. We married them together. One of the first games we did that was in Jade Empire, where we had a fighting game, an action experience. It was really fun, and it was an action RPG, a fighting RPG, actually. And we also took this to another level in Dragon Age 2. We had a lot of the aspects of our prior games. We also had very intense, immersive, visceral action combat. And one of the next titles we announced is Wrath of Heroes. And this is a player versus player, 6 versus 6 versus 6, 3 factions, incredibly dynamic, alliances being broken on the fly, taking control of a hero. You get to progress the hero. It's play for free. It's really fun. And we have a video of it as well. So let's check that out.
Peggy 16.
This is another gift. On the way out, we have a card that you pick up, and basically you go to the Bioware booth at the show floor, and you can register for entrance into the beta testing, early beta testing on Wrath of Heroes. You get early admission to that and guaranteed access. And it's really fun. I'm playing it all the time. Both Greg and I play it, and I can attest that it's super cool. Very accessible, kind of 15-minute play sessions, crazy fun.
So you can play and kill us. That's the aspiration.
You probably will. I mean, we're not as good as some of the other guys on the team, but it is fun to play.
So one point of note for this and some of the other gifts is when you have to go to the Bioware booth, you don't have to all go at once right after this. I think we were told, feel free to take your time, kind of like we'll be there all weekend, just don't rush. I mean, some of you will, we know that. But.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to talk a little about progression customization, then I'll hand over to Greg to talk about social aspects. So progression customization is really important to Bioware as well. In all of our games, we have strong itemization, ways to customize your appearance, progression systems through the game allow you leveling up. And really the foundation for that came from some of the early work we did in Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights. We had, crazy item descriptions for all these different pieces of equipment, and we knew the fans loved that. And it's very satisfying to the achiever category of players, so we know that's something we have to continue to build on. And in our current games, this is a screenshot from, I think, Mass Effect 2, the Blood Dragon armor. That was kind of a fusion between Dragon Age and Mass Effect. We still have this. It's very much a key feature for all of our games. So Mass Effect 3 is going to have really impressive progression customization, so is Star Wars The Old Republic, Wrath of Heroes, Dragon Age in the future, and so on.
So talking about the social elements, like we said at the outset, this is one of the really important things that we're working on a lot these days. And we actually did a lot way back in the day as well. This is a screenshot of Neverwinter Nights, but even back in the Baldur's Gate days, we actually had co-op multiplayer. You could play through the campaign together. But really, Neverwinter Nights is where we really started making like a fundamentally multiplayer game. And one of the really cool things about this, we kind of allowed for it to be fairly persistent. So fans have actually made MMO type environments using Neverwinter Nights that are still running today. So that's one really cool thing that we've got. Of course, Dark Age of Camelot from Bioware Mythic. These guys made a really cool MMO back in the day. There's, I think, some people getting ready for a big raid of some sort. Also, Warhammer, Age of Reckoning. That's me in the bottom right corner running from that big galoot. So that's a pretty cool game. Again, also a lot of social elements there. Talking a little bit about Star Wars, so shifting gears to this for a moment. This is a scene from a Flashpoint where they're the really story-heavy but actually combat-heavy co-op quests that folks do. People have really loved these. When you play, you'll see what we mean. These are really, really cool, where you and your friends actually have to decide what happens in the course of this adventure. Multiplayer conversations. I mean, that's another really fundamental thing that we've added, so that you and actually your friends can actually decide how things play out during a conversation. All participate. Environments, I mean, exploring really cool environments like this one. Of course, everyone recognizes the sandcrawler. That's my and Ray's personal sandcrawler that we drive around. So you better be careful on tattooing because we're going to be trying to run people over.
No, not really.
Actually, no, we're not. We asked for that in the team, so just forget about it.
No, they told us we couldn't have that.
This is another big thing we have. This is actually everyone getting set for a war zone. So this is a Sith side, Imperial team getting ready, tooled up to have a big war zone battle. That's another one of the things. Obviously PvP, playing as a team and also defeating other teams is another really cool element. You probably heard about Hutball, which actually allows you multi-faction teams as well. You don't have to just be one faction, but you can get the best and team up to defeat other teams. We're getting our friends to come on up. So why don't you guys come up for a second here. This is actually, I'll just sort of go on while they're coming here. This is actually Ray and Mai's actual avatars in the game. So if you see us coming, you better be careful. Like,
I think your lightsaber's the wrong color.
I like dark colors, my outfits. I mean, I could still be good with that.
Yeah, okay.
Well, maybe not. So this is you, I think?
All right, yeah. So we mentioned we have 3 gifts for you. The third of the 3 is on the way out. That card that we're going to give you for the beta testing for Wrath of Heroes will also enable you to get early access for the beta testing for Star Wars The Old Republic. So obviously that's pretty cool. So just bring it to the Bioware booth. Again, take your time. All of you have a card. We'll be guaranteed to get in.
Don't rush there right
so
now.
one card per person, one at a time. And it's amazing. It's fun. I mean, we play it all the time. I can't say enough about the quality of the game and the team behind it. And like all the games we're making, I'm so proud of all of our teams. They do a phenomenal job, and it's an honor to work with them. And our great partners at LucasArts as well. Incredibly supportive, as are our partners at EA for all of our games we build.
Is that all we got?
Oh, all right. You said you think we should announce something else?
Well, we came all this distance. It's a long trip. And we feel maybe we've given you guys a lot of stuff. We haven't given you everything yet.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. We're in Europe with our great fans here in the UK, and we have consumer friends, you know, all the great fans all over the world. And what could be a better place to announce the day that we're launching the game?
I think it's time. I think it's a good time for it.
All right, so remember, pre-order early to get early access to the game and get guaranteed access as well, because we're going to make sure that the quality of the game and the service are really high at launch. So we're going to make sure that, you know, the number of people coming in is balanced against that. The day that we're launching Star Wars The Old Republic is December 22nd, 2011 in Europe, and December 20th, 2011 in North America.
So now we'll play an inspirational video, and it's got the dates written again so you can really remember them.
And lots of time to beta test for all of you as well before that
don't
too.
worry.
So get your feedback in, help us make it even better.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Hang out whatever's good for you.
Neither the Republic nor the Jedi are prepared for another war. We would lose. Billions would die.
You have no idea what you've unleashed, Jedi. There's no place in the galaxy to hide from my wrath. Soon the Republic's failure will be complete, and nothing will stand in the way of the new Empire.
Prejudice set to maximum.
So now we can wrap up, and we'll have a little time for quick Q&A as well. I mean, in summary, you know, we think the future is incredibly bright right now at this point in the industry, and it's so exciting to be doing video games, developing video games right now with all these new business models, new platforms. Everyone's playing video games. It's a dominant form of entertainment, or it's emerging as such. It's an art form. You know, it's awesome. So, you know, you can look at the change is scary, you know, in terms of there's all these things you have to worry about, all these changes and that. Or you can look at it as, holy crap, this is awesome. So we kind of look at it this way, and hopefully you do too.
Dino Age right now. Dino Age.
Not really.
Oh. No. We'll hold that one for next year.
But thank you very much.
Up to you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Waiting for a backup to leave the stage just a moment.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Okay.
In the green?
Yeah, we'll try and be crisp on the questions so a lot of folks can ask if they...
So you've done a lot of space sort of, you know, things with Star Wars and Mass Effect. Is it hard to keep the two apart? Do like some Mass Effect things creep into Old Republic? Or do some Star Wars elements creep into Mass Effect? Or do you keep the two apart completely?
Well, they definitely are apart. I mean, one thing, the center of development for each of those is different locations, though there's some sharing of personnel, obviously. But I mean, Edmonton, the team led by Casey Hudson, makes the Mass Effect games, and the separate team in Austin, and Bioware Austin, that makes Star Wars. So it's, there's a physical separation, and also mentally, they're very, very
There's also
different.
people collaborating from Edmonton and Virginia.
Oh yeah, exactly.
On the Old Republic,
But
so it's a big project for us.
Yeah, but but they are really quite distinct.
And the team in Mass Effect also works from Montreal too. So we have great teams all over the place.
We have teams all over doing all kinds of things. It sounds like.
Yeah, but we definitely keep them separate. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I mean, it is distinct. I mean, even there's, like I said, there's the physical separation, even with the sort of the tendrils that go back and forth every way, and just the way that the philosophy of the games is quite different. I mean, I think what's amazing certainly about working the Star Wars side of things is we're all since youth steeped in that, so it's very, very natural for us to work there. Mass Effect's something we've created ourselves, so that's a little bit different, but it's also again very dear to our hearts. It's one of the collective creations of Bioware. So. No, they don't really cross, but we love them both.
Some on the front here? Or
so we'll try and get some of this edge people.
We'll let the Eurogamer folks decide who's next. I don't know. There's a couple in front, and there's a couple in the back.
We'll try and go back this way, too.
There's a couple on this side, too.
Yeah.
There's one right there. In blue.
Oh, there's a guy right here.
Huh? Okay, sorry.
Hi. With Neverwinter Nights, one could argue that the game was a little bit ahead of its time when it comes to user-created content. And it's only been in the last few years that we've seen games like Trackmania or Little Big Planet where, user-created content really exploded, with the maturing of digital distribution systems and the internet and in general. So do you think it might be about time for BioWare to make another game that is very focused on user-generated content? Maybe Dragon Age 3?
Any suggestions?
That's not a leading question at all, huh? Well, we definitely believe in the concept, and it's something we've talked about doing more of in the future too. So, we don't have any announcements to make on that front right now, but I think you'll see more in the way of user-generated content from Bioware in the future. Yeah, we view Neverwinter as a tremendous success in terms of the user-generated content piece and all the other aspects too. We had fans doing persistent state universes. I think Greg mentioned kind of creating little 256-player, massively multiplayer games for years and years after we launched, and lots of user-generated content too.
Anyone on this side? Back there? This one?
So it seems multiplayer is a big focus for you over the years, especially looking over the whole timeline of things. But traditionally, Mass Effect has been a very single-player experience. Was it ever planned, or is it ever going to be seen past, present, and future for Mass Effect multiplayer?
I think it's interesting. I mean, we actually sort of wax and wane at some level on multiplayer versus single player. Like as you noted, like very early, we're actually very aggressive there. Then we got very story focused, and I think one of the interesting challenges is when you're very, very story focused in a game, it's more difficult to do a multiplayer experience. I mean, that was actually what we specifically tackled in the case of Star Wars: The Old Republic. Was how do you create a collective story that actually works well, and how do you all interact with it? I think we've done a pretty good job of cracking that nut. I mean, as far as going forward, it's not the be-all and the end-all. I mean, we've been in the business a long time. It's been really funny because there was times where everyone would say, "Oh, multiplayer is going to destroy everything," and that was like 15 years ago. And then there's still an opportunity for both types of games. So I think we tend to pick the right experience, the right gameplay for that game, and I think it varies from time to time. So you never know. We can't guarantee what we do in the future, but there's all kinds of possibilities. Are we getting the nod? We got the nod. So
don't forget your gifts.
Oh, sorry.
We're going to get the 2 cards on the way out, and enjoy our games. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Oh, that's okay. I understand.
Thanks.